Accidentally a vampire. I still can't believe it. I'm really sitting on a plane to Canada. I have no idea how long or how often I've wanted to do it. There was always something more important: family, children, work, and 1,000 other excuses. But now that I have enough time and no more excuses, I've decided to really do it. And so one thing led to another, and I'm now on my way to the country of my dreams. It's going to be a long flight, and my seatmate says that once we're in the air everything will be okay. And that's how it was, and after a long but quiet flight I landed in Toronto. From there it's almost 250 kilometers to Elliott Lake. Luckily I'm picked up because I would never have found it myself, even though it shouldn't be far by Canadian standards. But everything is going well. After the checks at the arrival and a few questions that I had to answer to the officers, I was picked up by a driver, and now I'm sitting in the car with 2 other people. I'm sitting in the back with another young lady who could be about 25 years old, and the other man was about my age. The journey is quite entertaining. Quiet music is playing on the radio and everyone is ready to shorten the journey with entertainment. But at some point tiredness wins out. The last thing I saw was the young woman smiling at me, and then I was already asleep. The next thing I heard was a loud bang, and I noticed that the car had rolled over on a slope. Miraculously, I was hardly injured. The 2 in the front can't say the same. Unfortunately they died immediately. Only Rachel was still alive. She was badly injured but alive. So I had to get her out of the car and somehow tend to her injuries. But in the end it worked out well. I dragged her a short distance away from the car and also found a first aid kit. Rachel is a brave woman, I must say. Despite the pain, she took out her phone and called for help. Then she did something I never thought possible. During the accident, a thick branch pierced her hand. I left it in so that the bleeding would stop. But not her, not Rachel. She just pulled the stick out of her wrist. I got to her as quickly as possible and shouted at her. No, I left it in, but it was too late. Then several things happened at once. I grabbed her wrist with my hand and a huge fountain of blood spurted right into my mouth. I didn't even have time to spit it out because I was busy trying to stop the bleeding. I've never eaten anything more disgusting than that. But I managed to turn her stupidity into something good. I managed it. She is no longer bleeding, or rather not much. A little blood is still coming out, but that should be enough for now. It took less than 15 minutes. Then I heard a car stop up on the road, and immediately afterwards I saw 2 men and a woman running down the slope. But what struck me first was that they were all quite young, about the same age as Rachel. Then everything happened quickly. One took me a little way away and looked at my wounds, the other 2 looked after her. They even had blood bags with them and attached and full. That was a little strange. The man who was with me thanked me several times, and what I saw immediately was that he was trying to distract me from what was happening. As if I shouldn't see what was happening, but I didn't care at that moment. The main thing was that they saved her. Another 10 to 15 minutes might have passed. Then another car came up. There was another couple who rushed to us, and like everyone else, they were young, much too young. Because what Rachel said then didn't make sense to me at first. Mom, I'm fine. He saved me and pointed at me with his chin. The good woman everyone called Mom came to me and hugged me. She just said thank you, but I knew from her voice that it was more than just thank you. And at that moment the first cramps started inside me. It burned as if I had drunk acid. They came so suddenly that everyone around me froze like statues. Then all I saw was that everyone was looking at my head, and all I saw was the scene of Rachel pulling the stick out of my hand, and I got all the blood in my face and in my mouth. After that I didn't understand much, just a few words like transformation, take it with you, and later. From that moment on I don't know anymore. It was dark and all I could feel was the pain and the constant burning. Then it was quiet. but there was no pain and the burning was gone too. It was dark and quiet. His coming to was the first thing I noticed, and footsteps were moving towards me. Even though I didn't see anything, I could feel it, like a breath of wind was creeping past me. "Come on, you hero, open your eyes." I know that voice. Where do I know it from? Of course you know my voice, we were in the car together. "Come on, open your eyes." "Rachel?" I open my eyes and there I see her again, healthy and unharmed. How is that possible? Little by little the others came into the picture and Rachel introduced them all to me, her husband, brothers, sister-in-law and her mother. But how is that possible? That was the brunette who hugged me in the forest. She can't be older than 25 to 30. But I can and will explain everything to you, but first you should get out of bed and shower and put on something clean. We then met downstairs in the lounge. My boys will help you, by the way, they are Bastien and Etienne. Both of them gave me their hands and the second one just pulled me up, but so quickly that I hardly noticed it, but it wasn't unpleasant either. It felt normal to be so fast. Freshly showered and in cleaner clothes, I feel much better. Not like in the salon, where everyone was already waiting for us. Of course I got the place of honor, where everyone can see me. Doesn't anyone ever think that it might be uncomfortable? But it doesn't have to be. The mother, whose name is Marguerite, began the conversation. "Did you just read my thoughts? That wasn't the first time, was it? I noticed that in the forest, but I had, let's say, other things to do. You are very observant, people don't usually notice. But maybe it's a good thing that you are so observant. It will then be a little easier to understand the situation and everything that is coming your way. How about we start by using first names? We all do that in my family, so my name is Marguerite and yours is Heinz, right? I'm glad, and yes, I also think it will be a lot easier. And I already have a little idea of what is coming my way, and don't cheat now. No one is reading my thoughts, we don't want to spoil the fun." "What do you mean?" Rachel asked, but Marguerite just laughed quietly. "Don't cheat." "Mother?" He recognized us. "What do you mean?" Almost everyone asked at once. "Ah, children, I was worried that we would have to look after him and that he would reject us, but that's not the case. So Heinz, tell my children how you came up with that." I looked at the astonished faces standing around us. Then I began to tell them. The first time I had the idea was when I looked into Rachel's eyes, silver green, in the car and then in the forest, after the accident. Everyone who came up was young, silver blue eyes, and you had blood on you. Okay, but how did you come to that conclusion? "Ah, do you think you're vampires?" Everyone started coughing, except for my mother, of course, who of course read everything in my mind. "And yes, your mother is still cheating, just like in the novels. She reads my mind all the time." "Mother? You should be an example for us." "She can't do that yet," said Etienne. "She always read our minds." "So, have you read the romance novels?" "Yes, all of them, and I really liked them. But I never thought they were true and I still don't believe that I'm one of you now. I just hope Rachel doesn't get into trouble. She's a little to blame for me being an immortal now." I turned to Marguerite but she just smiles. "No, she won't. It was an accident and you're a vampire by accident."